Hi, and welcome to The Real Deal with Deb. Being born into dysfunctional generational trauma, I know too well the effects it can have in all the different areas of our life. So I decided to create a space to support women of all ages where we can grow together while sharing personal and entrepreneurial lessons learned through authentic connection, love, and laughter. After 30 plus years of building a successful business as a RE/MAX realtor while studying emotional intelligence skills throughout my career and life, I now want to help support other women and empower them to tap into their own emotional intelligence skills. Thanks for stopping by and welcome to The Real Deal with Deb. I'm excited today to have my guest, a fellow Canadian from London, Ontario, Canada, Judith Hull, who is a personal injury lawyer. Judith, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this opportunity to chat.
No, thank you. So, Judith, I'd like to start off with you sharing a bit about your background, your upbringing. Please share at what age approximately did you think, I think I want to be a lawyer? And what was your inspiration? If you could think of one person that really inspired you towards this goal, please share.
Okay, that's really interesting because, law was something that sort of came to me. This is going to sound crazy, but watching television, seeing lawyers on the screen, they were all very polished, all very organized. They lived very busy lives, but I loved more so than that, seeing them in these offices lined with books with all of these matching spines. And I just thought that looks to me like the height of education, the height of learning. And so that's really where I started that journey, just from some fictitious view of what law actually is. They don't show you that you stand around in courthouses waiting for elevators and things, but or that you're carrying bankers' boxes full of paper and you're staying up to the wee hours of the morning. That tends not to be what you see. But aside from that, so I took that view and understood it to be something of higher learning. As I grew up, so I'm not from a family of lawyers, and quite often in law, you find that there are people that are generational lawyers. So their dad was a lawyer, their father or their grandfather was a lawyer, they become a lawyer and so on, and their kids become lawyers. That's not the case in my family. The eldest of all the grandchildren on my dad's side, the first ever to go to university, and then to do a graduate degree, and then to do 2 graduate degrees. So it wasn't something that was sort of bred into me, if I can say that. My real love came from a love of learning and a love of reading. And then as I grew up in Byron, which is a quiet little, well, not so quiet anymore, but at the time it was this quiet little western suburb of London, our next door neighbor moved in. We'd been there for a long time. He moved in and he was a lawyer. So then I got to get a bit more of the inside track. So he was really very helpful. I brought him to my grade 12 law class as, sort of my show and tell.
Oh, well, that was convenient, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Very convenient. And he was very diplomatic and very accommodating and came in and spoke to the class. So that's really where it all started.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It really is interesting, like you said, how life kind of evolves around us at times. What are the odds of a lawyer moving in beside you? Let's be honest, right? So that it sounds like he even gave you a bit more understanding and inspiration to follow that path. So a great reminder, Judith, that following your passion and then having the support along the journey, I think is vital for, anybody's successes and for women's especially.
Absolutely. As I've been in this practice now, I've been practicing in Ontario for 26 years. There's been a real change. There's been a growth in the number of women that are in practice. when I started, I'm not gonna fudge the numbers as it relates to graduations from law school. There were a high number of women graduating from law school. It wasn't as high as 50% when I was there. But it was still a decent size number, and we were all patting ourselves in the back thinking we made a lot of progress. But where things tend to fall off is when women are in their childbearing years and they start practice, particularly in private practice, they drop out. They were dropping out in droves. So I have lunch to this day with a colleague of mine. We both were called to the bar on the same day 26 years ago. And we look around and we think, where are our colleagues? Like, there's not many of us up my age bracket,
right?
Females in private practice, in a litigation practice, because litigation is a whole other animal than your typical corporate commercial, or families at a whole other area as well. But
right. So, what would you say? That's an interesting point that you brought up. Again, not going into too much specifics, because we could be talking for quite all day, I'm sure. But what would you say? You just said that there's definitely it's a different animal. Like, what have you discovered through all your years of doing this? It definitely would have its challenges, I'm sure, along the way, and probably very time consuming, not just for the person you're representing, as well as yourself, because you can maybe explain a bit more, but this journey is not just done within a few months. It can take several years. So please feel free to shed some light on kind of the process, and as well, what is the most gratifying for you at the end of the day?
Well, let me start with the most gratifying. I think the most gratifying thing for me has always been seeing a happy client. And,
right.
And people come to me in not happy situations. So,
sure.
It's not a breakdown of a marriage, although that may be a byproduct of an injury. But their lives have been altered in ways that can't be overcome.
Right.
And when I say that, it's not like you can turn back the clock and make it go away. So there have been profound fundamental changes in people's lives. They have to learn how to live with their new normal. They have to find new ways of doing things. In many cases, it may mean finding a whole new career path, or not being able to work at all, being more dependent on other people. So it's multifaceted. So, you would expect that from my side of things, that this would be something where a lot of women would gravitate towards it, because it requires an element of care.
Sure.
It requires a lot of compassion. It requires a lot of understanding. But I think where the problem tends to lie is that the litigation process itself is adversarial. It can be aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also very long and time consuming. So, if you're going to a trial, I'll never forget my friend Ava Hillier, who is more senior to me, although she would shoot me for saying that out loud. She says, this is a profession that values gray hair. And she said that my hairdresser knows about that. So, So she said at a women's litigators conference many years ago, she said the truth of trial is that, a couple of weeks before trial, you kiss your husband and your kids goodbye and you're gone for weeks. Right. And that was met with, a fair amount of shock, and I think a little bit of poo-pooing from the people who were putting on the organization or putting on this conference, because they wanted it to be more of a, how do we include women? But the truth of the matter is, when you go to trial, you can't say, well, it's 5 o'clock, that's it, I'll see you tomorrow. Because there's so much preparation that's involved. You have to untangle everything that happened during the course of, this day of trial. You've been spending all night getting ready for the next day. You've got to prep your witnesses. It is round the clock, crazy busy. And
right.
The candle at both ends is an understatement. So
you brought up some really interesting points that a lot of us don't know what goes on behind the scenes, as far as all the time that's involved in preparation, and that it's not just a 9-to-5 job, that you can turn it off when you need to turn it off, maybe even for your own personal, I need a break, so to speak. So you are on the clock, I guess, so to speak. And I really admire and respect your, all of your ability to show compassion, to be there, to, because obviously going through the process myself, I can say that's how we met. I really appreciated and I had no idea of the journey that was going to be ahead of me through the process and how long it would take. And great insight shared on, Debbie, sometimes when a person goes through some trauma and personal injury, it isn't just affecting them, it's affecting the family, the dynamics of the family. It can tear apart the family. You may not be able to get the support that is needed going through this. So it's stressful, I would say, on both ends. Not so much for you, because your job is to, to kind of oversee everything and to really show the compassion to your client and let them know what is ahead of them, what they can expect in terms of with the legal process. And like, it is a journey. It can take several years, and in some cases longer than what we think we can handle. So thank you for sharing that. Yes,
that's exactly right. It's a very long process. It's multifaceted, and because it is an adversarial system, there's another side over which you don't have control.
Right.
And so you're always, as counsel, you're always trying to predict what the next step is.
Sure.
Either based on the personality of the individuals that you're dealing with, or the insurance company that's behind it, or what evidence there may be that's presented and how that may be used. So we have all of these things that we're trying to pull together behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And, with trial in particular, because trials can be so long and so involved, you really do need, as the lawyer, people behind you who are going to understand this is what the next 6, 8, 10 weeks is going to look like. And I think if you're a young mother, you have a family to care for, that's really tough. I don't know how you pat your kid on the head and go, good luck in starting grade 1. I'll see you at Christmas time. Like, I just don't know how you do it. So,
and you're talking about a working woman lawyer. Is that right? You're referencing to that. And, I'm really glad that you brought that up. It is so important, I feel, as a woman, that we do understand the dynamics of whether it's being a lawyer or whatever career that you may be pursuing or wanting to dive into and give it your all, that there is a lot of challenges to that. So, yes, thank you so much for pointing that out. So, total respect for all us women that are changing the dynamics of, yes, there's challenges. Yes, it's going to be really hard sometimes, but it can be done with the support from others. Yeah. So, thank you so much. Now, I'm going to end this with you, Judith, by asking you of your mindset as far as if you could share one tip with a woman that is contemplating the journey of becoming a lawyer. What would it be? What would the best advice be given to her?
The best advice. So the advice I would have given my...
Yes, you got it. What would you have told yourself many years ago? And that would have helped you maybe not, overcome and overlook some obstacles, being more prepared.
My friend Jim Vigmund said to me years ago, it's a long, straight road without a curve. Yeah. And explain what that meant. And so over the years, I have frequently pondered on it, reflected on it. I think it means a number of things. I think, first of all, it means that it's a calling. So you don't just, jump on and go, oh yeah, I'm going to do this for a few years and then go dabble in something else. It really is, because it's a practice. So we're constantly learning. So that whole piece where I said it looked like a profession of higher learning, it's because it's not just what is the law. First of all, the law is fluid. It changes. It is applied in different ways. it's not a science, it's more of an art, truly.
Right.
And then, so we're constantly learning not just the law itself, but all of the things that surround the issues that we represent our clients for. So whether it's mergers and acquisitions, or whether it's personal injury, or whether it's, criminal law. I mean, we're always learning about the area that involves the action that is before us.
Right.
Constant. So that's one of those things that I took away from what he meant. I think it also means that you have to always put your reputation, your ethical self front and center, because you're going to keep going. You can't hide behind the curves. You do something that's a little bit shady, that's going to catch up with you. So you've got to make sure that you're looking at the end game as well. Sort of like the light at the end of the tunnel. You're going all the way through that. You can't hide behind things. You've got your reputation. You need to protect your reputation. You need to be ethical. And you treat other people in that way as well. Because, you may have a particularly egregious case with another lawyer this time, but you're going to see that person again somewhere down the road. And you just want to make sure those relationships, are not harmed when you're just doing your job. So you need to kind of separate your personal self from the professional self, but make sure that you're always professional. So don't take the stuff personally, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Your jobs, don't take it personally when someone else is really fighting hard for their client.
You know what? Really great insight shared there, Judith, because you're right. You are in a profession that, the gloves come off when you're representing your client, because your job is to, do the best for them. But at the same time, as you said, you really have to do a balancing act with your colleagues out there, because like you just mentioned, you're gonna see them again. So play fair, play honest, and just be true to what, stay on, like you just, said, stay on that path of being true to yourself and respecting yourself as well as others in the profession. That is a wonderful note to end at, my friend. I am so grateful and feel that you are inspiring other women to see and know that they are capable of doing anything that they want. Just go for it, believe in themselves. And before we say goodbye, I would love it if you could share, if someone's in need of your help in the area, how can they get a hold of you, Judith?
Well, thanks for that. I'm at the firm of MD Lawyers. So MD, like is in medical doctor, or mother dog,
Right.
MD Lawyers, based in London. I also have an office in St. Thomas. So this actually is a female-led firm. So the two founding partners are female, and of similar vintage.
I love it. Yay!
So it's great. So we've got a lot of great synergies here. I joined as counsel to the firm in November, the end of November.
Oh, congratulations. That is awesome. I'm so happy for you.
That's great. So you can check out the website. All the information, contact information is on the website, md-lawyers.ca.
Okay, well, thank you again. I really appreciate you taking the time today, Judith. And thank you all for listening. Have a good one. Thanks again for taking some time out of your day to spend it with me. If there's a topic you'd like me to discuss, please reach out at therealdealwithdeb@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you left me a review. And as always, keeping it real. Until next time.